morning, good day. This is your girl, Dr. Tay, here with another morning message. So I know I touched on this topic recently, but after rewatching one of my favorite movies, I felt like I needed to talk about it again. So I recently watched The Devil Wears Prada. And if you listen to my podcast, you know that Miranda Priestley is by no means a leader. Like, she's doing all of the wrong things. And I wouldn't even put her in the manager category because that would be offensive to them. Like, she is clearly a tyrant and, just has everybody walking on eggshells around her. And I think neither of those, that's its own separate category. Like, neither of those work. But I found like a different perspective after watching it. And I think it's partially because of just my own recent decisions around work and, finding more of a balance in work. Because when I previously would watch it, I would think, she's a terrible person. How could she do this to poor Andy? Making her jump through all these hoops and all these things. And then, pulling Andy away from her family, that's just so wrong. How could a supervisor do that? And then one of the things that really stood out to me throughout the movie, when I watched it the other day, was that the number of times that Andy said, "Oh, I didn't have a choice. I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. I had to do it." And it really made me think that, maybe Miranda isn't quite the bad guy in all of this. Yes, she did some terrible things, but at the end of the day, I think Andy just kind of fed into that. She did have a choice. She always had a choice. And she just allowed her need to do well, to be an overachiever, to take away from the other areas of her life that were impacted. The relationship with her boyfriend, her relationship with her friends, she allowed her job to pull her away from all of those things. And I think previously I related to Andy, not because I had a supervisor by her, because by no means I did not. But I think it's because I definitely felt that pressure of, wanting to do well, of wanting to advance my career. And that's something that even Miranda mentioned. She was saying to her at the end of the movie, you did have a choice. You just chose to, advance your career. And it took Andy a minute to realize that she was right. And I think for me, it was having that realization of yeah, she was right. It's not that I didn't have a choice. I just chose to advance my career. I chose to put my work first. And now that I have this new perspective, I realize that, I definitely missed out on a lot of things, related to my personal life. But that was just the choice that I made at that time. And now that I am aware, and now that I recognize that I do have choices, it's, now making sure that I'm making the right ones going forward. And the right ones include having a balance and not allowing other people to pull me away from the things that are most important to me in my life, like my family, spending time with friends, participating in my different crafts and projects. It's making sure that I'm catering to all areas of myself, not just the one that I think is the most important, which at that time was work. And I guess, in having this new understanding, I challenge all of you to also think about it from that perspective. When you have these situations at work where, you feel obligated to do something, or you feel like you don't have a choice, really ask yourself, is it that you really don't have a choice? Or are you choosing to put work ahead of other things and you feel guilty about it? Because at the end of the day, that's really what's happening. You're making a choice. You just don't realize that you're making the choice, and it may not be the choice that you want to necessarily tell people, but it is the choice that you're making at the end of the day. And so, as I challenge all of us to think about that, when we're faced with those different situations, so that we can really be honest with ourselves about what is it that we truly want, versus what is it that other people want from us. Okay? So thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.